On the 31st of October 2020 at 6:30 p.m, Prime Minister Boris Johnson began his address announcing the second national lockdown. And I want to pick up the messages between yourself and Nicola Sturgeon, which start 10 minutes into the address. So if we read the first message, on the 31st of October at 6:40, you say, hitting the 15 minutes between the rugby and strictly to lock the country up. Let us never do this like this. Nicola Sturgeon replies, their comms are behind awful. We're not perfect, but we don't get nearly enough credit for how much better than them we are. She then replies, this is fucking excruciating. Their comms are awful. Then she goes on to say, his utter incompetence in every sense is now offending me on behalf of politicians everywhere. Nicola Sturgeon says, he is a fucking clown. Is it fair to say that the relationship between Nicola Sturgeon and Boris Johnson, by this date, had completely broken down?
I think broken down, to a degree, overstates what was there to break. They had met on a number of occasions. There was always a politeness, a business-like approach to it. When Boris Johnson first became Prime Minister and came to meet Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland, they had a discussion that I think has been described publicly as well as it was more like a debate, two intelligent people engaged in discussion about policy issues. When we got to COVID, I think it was much harder. It was evident in his exchanges with the Scottish Government, with the First Minister, and I think with the other First Ministers, because we would all be on the same call, that he didn't want to be on those calls. He wasn't necessarily well briefed on those calls, and he wasn't listening to the points we were making on those calls. And so I think engagement with him came to be seen as slightly pointless during this period. So we started with a very clear approach that we should all try to work together, and moving into lockdown was all done in a coordinated fashion. But when you got to what I think the First Minister wanted to be substantive discussions about what direction to go in, a thrashing out of different proposals and different ideas, that wasn't what we got. We got a Prime Minister who, it certainly felt at the end of the video screen or at the end of the line, was reading a script and would summarise the contributions of the three First Ministers and the Deputy First Minister from Northern Ireland in ways which largely ignored the points that they had made.